Hey y'all, it's BDC. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're doing Empyrion Galactic Survival, and in this video, we are going to go over an HV driller that I created called the Digger Monkey. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split this up into two different videos. This one is going to focus on kind of like the base model, the original model of these two that I've got set up, and they're both up on the Steam Workshop. Anyway, the concept of the Digger Monkey was to be able to have multiple people in one field driller and do the bulk of any subterranean ore drilling on the surface using the drill turrets. Now, a lot of the vehicles that I've seen out there that are meant for drilling, and there's a ton of really good ones, some fantastic drillers, the bulk of them, the majority of them that I've seen are all subterranean. Similar actually to one that I've got here. This is called the Drill Monkey, and this is probably the 5th or 6th iteration of it, something that I keep updated for the various versions of the game that update and what have you. I think those stretch back to Alpha 7 or 8 or something, a long time ago. But anywho, the idea behind the Digger Monkey was to depart from the whole rough and tumble, going down to the ground and subterranean, drilling type thing and hitting things directly, and instead using the HV driller turrets to hit them from the surface going straight down. So this necessitated having to make an HV that would work with two crewmates, two passengers. And so the original Digger Monkey was built basically with this in mind. You got the pilot seat, and you got your two I guess you call them vertically mounted HV drillers, and then you've got a couple of passengers over there parked in it. And then along with that, since this turned into a field driller, I wound up adding different things to be able to accommodate those crewmates. Constructor, fridge, I think I even put an armor locker in here, that kind of thing like that. So the focus of these guys, the Digger Monkey, is different than your typical subterranean, which is your common style single-person driller, in that we want somebody to potentially stay in this thing for a good half hour, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, depending upon the amount of ore that they gather and collect to take back. So the Digger Monkey was born from that idea. There could be designs like this out there, and to be honest, I haven't kept up, so it's entirely possible that that somebody's created something like this, or maybe even something bigger with a lot more people or what have you. But in the gameplay that I was doing on the server that I was playing on, there were 3 of us, and we wanted a solution that worked. Instead of having to build 3 vehicles, just wanted to do one. So I went off into creative, and a few hours later I came up with a raw original version of this. This is kind of a refined one. This has been refined over the course of, I don't know, a year or so or something. But it's cool in that you get multiple people, they each have a job. It required different types of things to have to solve because of the different problems that were encountered when making a surface level driller that aims to hit subterranean ore deposits. So for instance, here, I will change the day into night here, and I'll show you one thing that I came up with. So in the control panel here, we have a lot of different groups, and one of the ones that I want to look at here are these lights. So we've got our primary lights. They kick up a couple of fares. I may have actually left those off in the on the Digger Monkey Prime over there, but you have your standard ones for driving, and then we have driller spotlights. So the idea behind these, and there's a fairly big collection of them, I guess. I think there's maybe 6 or 7 of them, something like that. Oh, okay, 9. So a whole bunch of these different spotlights in here. And the whole idea is to light this dark place up, and really, light this area up as you go and drill and carve out this area directly below the Digger Monkey to get to these subterranean ore deposits. So stuff like that. And I wound up adding different things to accommodate the user that are all accessible on the back. And I may have mentioned this earlier: the fridge, a constructor, armor locker, O2, that kind of thing like that. So The other thing that this digger monkey here can do is it's got front-mounted drill laser turrets. So if you're on a planet or a moon that has a lot of those meteorites that come flying in, this is a good solution for it. The driver can go straight up to it and zap it and sit there for a little while and get that thing. Now, as far as some of the specs on this guy, I want to show this off a little bit. So, let's see. O2 capacity is 2,000, and fuel capacity, I believe, is 2,400. So it can hold a decent amount of oxygen and fuel. I mean, again, we want to support a few people out in the field, so we have 5 O2 tanks. That's standard in here. And then we have 4 of the 2x1 standard fuel tanks. Let's see, what else do we have? On here we have a group called high power mode, and what high power mode does, and this is something I do on a lot of my HVs and SVs, where I'm really conscientious about power consumption, fuel consumption, that kind of thing like that, and so I like to give options to players who are piloting a craft to be able to run things in kind of like an econo mode type thing. So you don't need a huge bank of thrusters on all the time if you're just piddling from point A to point B. So we shut off stuff like those thrusters, extra RCS, things like that, so that it's not over-maneuverable and slinging around all over the place and what have you. So let's see, high power mode on here, we've got 20 items in here. So we have extra RCS, presumably for turning, a pair of auxiliary generators, and a whole ton of extra thrusters. And the idea behind that is once this thing starts to get weighted down, it is weights and volumes compliant, by the way. Once this thing starts to get weighted down, or you're on a higher gravity planet or what have you, you can click that on. You can give extra maneuverability, extra oomph to the vehicle. Another thing that we do on here, kind of following on that, is we have a set of what are called boosters, and this is something that's common for a lot of my builds, for vehicle builds. On this one, we have a boosters generator that kicks on, and then additional thrusters. Usually, when I do boosters, it's going to be forward and reverse. So, let's say we're on a higher gravity, and this thing's really weighted down, we need the extra thrust to keep pushing. You know, you could kick on the boosters group. So, basically, in this case, we have 3 different power levels. You have your standard, you have your high power mode, then you have boosters if you want to go full bore. Aux hover engines can be kicked on if the vehicle is really, really weighted down. They're covered up by all the block in here. But if it's struggling to maintain its hover height, and it's, you know, that kind of thing, once you're starting to shove a bunch of a bunch of crap into the harvest controller in here, then you can kick on aux hover engines, and they'll rebalance the vehicle out. So that's an additional type thing. Other than that, that's basically about it on this. And I hope I explained the idea behind this, that it's a departure from the standard subterranean drillers that are out there. And for me, this was actually a fun challenge to build and then play test with a couple of friends in a real game. You know, we had a lot of fun doing it. It was cool, kind of tweaking everything and getting the spotlights right, and and then getting their feedback with them operating the drill turrets and the passenger seats and zapping everything and all that. So it was pretty cool to build. Let's see, one more thing I wanted to note for weights and volumes purposes. Our harvest controller here that we have holds 11,500 storage units, whatever that is. And the bulk of those container extensions are going to be on the bottom of the vessel, so they're not really exposed to stuff up on the top. So again, this is the base model of the Digger Monkey. This is going to be the Digger Monkey Mark II, so it has been refitted, reworked some from the very original design to make it more efficient, maybe, easier cost, what have you, or cheaper cost rather, easier to build, that kind of thing like that. Stats on it real quick, it's a level 20, so this is intended to be a higher tier HV. And I want to say it's a tier 3 CPU, so some of the stuff that you're going to have to build this, Erestrum Zescosium, and I think those are for the laser drills, and then small optronic bridges, and that's going to be a CPU thing. But otherwise, it's mostly standard. You got your mix of your tier 1 stuff, iron, copper, silicone, and then carbon substrate, aka plastic, and then titanium, sathium, neodymium. So, you know, it's to be expected with some of the more expensive stuff on here, the HV drill turrets in particular. Anywho, I hope you guys like this, and I would love to get some feedback from people who are using this or who are attempting to use it on a survival game. Again, it's a less popular one. It's it's more of a unique design for a type of an HV driller. It's a departure from the norm of things. So I would love to get feedback on this. So for those using it, questions, comments, especially comments, if you have any criticism or if you have any, hey, try and rework this, or, you know, what about this idea, BDC, what do you think about trying this sort of thing, throw them down below. And if you would, like and sub, please. And I'm going to go do this second video over the Digger Monkey Prime. So that'll be part 2. So see you guys in the next video.